Everyone, I'm Carlo. I'm a senior Android developer for Coffee's Group in Palermo. And in the last month, I developed some interest in Flutter, especially because the animation is really an easy task. Any Android developer here? Do you know the pain to do some simple animation in Android? I checked about Flare after the Flutter Live conference in December, and I found out that it's a really powerful tool that now I'm going to explain to you. Just a moment. Okay. What is really Flare? Flare is an online tool that helps you to build wonderful animations. For example, this one you can see in the slide. This animation was done with Flare and it was imported in Flutter in a really simple way. I really don't know how I can do something like this in Android with Java or Kotlin, but in Flare it took me 2 hours without prior experience. Add just the SVG for the basic file, the logo for my company, and I use this tool to design everything for the animation. We can use vectoral elements. We can use twin animation, inverse kinematics, and many more. You should see the website for Flare for the full experience, because there is really so much to tell. I can fit in a 20-minute talk. The most important things for me, it was the Flutter export, because you can use your animation inside your application. You can use, for example, for a loader and make the coffee rise up according to the downloaded data. Application. And you have a simple interface. If any one of you have used, for example, Macromedia Flash from Adobe? No? Okay. Vectorial design can be put on a keyframe in the timeline, and then you can simply move the element. For example, I want the ball to be at the bottom part on the first keyframe, on the upper part on the second keyframe. You have just to specify which keyframe you want to use, and the animation will be animated automatically. Version on pub.run.org. Then you have to export your animation. After you are done with your animation, you can simply export by clicking on this icon, clicking export, and then export your file. You get an FLR extension file, it stands for Flare, and then you have to put this file in your assets. Just declare a folder. You can name it which name you want, and add your file. Then again, in your file pub/spec, you just add the assets, and you are done. The file is important in your application. Now we have to show it. We can have the minimum viable import. That is how many line of code? 5, 7, 10, 3? Actually, 1 plus 1 of import. This is just wrapped because it is a little long. But we have the import for the Flare actor and the Flare actor. This simple widget shows our animation. Our animation is written here, because we can have several animations at once in the same file. If we want more control, we just can add a Flare control widget. For me, it was a logic controller that extends the Flare control. With the flare control, we can use more complex methods like play, pause, and so on. We can switch animations during the play, and just instead of tell the flare actor which animation should play, we can simply tell who is the controller. This one, for example, is the complete test animation. And in Flare, we have all our animation here. Just by using the name, we can call any one of these. For example, I used the appear to make the logo show when you open the application, and then the fill start to start the motion of pouring the coffee, and the fill anim to make the static animation on the coffee being poured. This one, for example. We start, fill anim. I do this thing because I can use the level of the coffee by code. This is the loading controller. We have an actor node, coffee level. This coffee level is our controller inside the animation. You can refer any controller you inserted in a Flare and use it in your code. You just have to initialize the controller. Here you can have from the hardboard your instance of the actor node, and then you can, for example, set the position, set the level, set the color, set a lot of things. On completed, you can tell the animation what to do. For example, if after every animation you can go to idle, but if the animation if you start after idle, you start to play fill animation. This way, we have two animations concatenated, and we can start the animation from the last frame of the previous animation. We can mix it into the next animation. I'm not a designer, I'm a developer, so I'm not really good at graphics. But with really low effort, I did that animation. But I want you to look something you can do if you are have more practice in graphics. To example by Umberto Sonnino, this is an interactive login screen, perfectly functioning in Flutter, where the reader follow the caret of the text while you write, and also response on the validation of the password by being happy or being sad, based on your password. This is another one, always by Umberto Sonnino, where, for example, you have a rent house service, and you can make the user choose the size of the house he is looking for with an animated picker, because you can switch the animation by code, and you have, for example, the controller tell which animation you should play based on the slider input. Okay. There is really a lot of experiments you can see on Flare. Also, many of that are open source. Flare allows you to have how many open source projects do you want. By open source, they mean that all the steps in order to reproduce the animation are visible. You can choose, for example, using the animation or not. By default, you can see what the artists do, but you can't use by yourself. But with a licensing option, you can add or a private licensing or every open source licensing. if you want to be, you can also have private files, but there is a small fee to pay for the private files. The small overview about Flare. I wanted to do a small demonstration, but I don't know if I. Then I just move the item, and we can already see the animation. If I want, for example, to just bounce back, I copy the keyframe, and then I have a bounce animation, a really rudimental bounce animation. But if I add, for example, an easing curve here, we have a more smoother animation. And I did this in how much time? 10 seconds? 20? I want to also animate the some other option. For example, I can select again the item. Now this time animate the horizontal. I move the item into the final position, and I have the animation moving on the other side. I can group the items. For example, I can make an animation of a car. The car can move from left to right, and the wheels can move rotating, grouping the animation so that I don't have to worry where the wheels are, because I know where the group car are, but the wheels are rotating in another animation. Do you have any question? No?